Welcome to the iXware Technical Webcast Series. In this video, I want to talk about adding a Windows printer to the iXware Enterprise server. And before we begin, I'll talk a little bit about why we might want to do that. If you've watched any of the other videos or you've gone through the basic iXware Enterprise fax server setup, you know that it's very easy to add or integrate a Xerox MFD with the enterprise fax server. And when you do that, you have the option to print inbound faxes at the MFD in addition to having them emailed to a user. One question that comes up for us occasionally is when a customer has a department or a user or a group of users where they want to be able to collect inbound faxes, but they'd like them to print at something other than the Xerox MFD. So for example, let's say that you've set up a mailbox in your iXware server for like an accounting group. And your accounting group, maybe they have a printer that they use when they're printing their documents, and it's not a Xerox MFD. So maybe you've got a Xerox MFD, you've got a couple of them, but the accounting group has their own basic Windows printer that they use day to day. And you'd like inbound faxes for that accounting group to print automatically at the printer so that somebody's not having to do double duty opening up their email account to print those out, or having a shared email group that everybody in accounting can access in order to get a fax forwarded to them. So that's fairly simple to do, and you just need a couple of things. The first thing that you're going to need is to make sure that you have a Windows printer set up. So if my accounting group is using this Brother printer, for example, I need to make sure that I add that as a Windows printer on the iXware server. And once you've done that, the rest is very simple. I'm going to show you how to add the printer to iXware in the domain manager, and then I'm going to show you how to create a rule to print the faxes at this printer. So, assuming that you've got a printer already set up in Windows and ready to go, what you're going to want to do is go to the iXware Domain Manager. You're going to click on your Modules tab, and if you don't have the modules open, you can get that by going down here to Host Services, expanding the Server option, and double-clicking on Modules. And in the Modules list, you're going to see a printer module. And if you double click on that, that's going to open up, and it may be blank if you haven't done any setup yet, or if you've used your iXware integration tool or scan tool to add Xerox MFDs, then those Xerox devices will be listed here. For adding the Windows printer, what we want to do is go ahead and click the Add button here at the bottom, and iXware is going to just pull a list of the available Windows printers you have, and I can see here the Brother printer that I had created. So I'm going to highlight that, and I'm going to choose Add, and I only have a couple settings to worry about. The first one is the printer address. Now this is important because this is the name that we're going to have to reference when we create a routing rule. And so you might not want to leave this. If you've left a default name when you created the Windows printer, as I did, that's a lot to have to type. So you might want to put in something a little shorter, or maybe even call it accounting printer. Then below that, I have the option to shrink oversized pages to paper size. I recommend putting that on just in case somebody sends you an oddly shaped, odd-sized fax. Maybe you get something from overseas, international, and it's not letter formatted, it's slightly larger, A3, A4. You want to make sure that it shrinks down to fit properly on the page. So once you've done that and you click OK, it's going to be listed there in your installed printers, and it's now called Accounting Printer. If you go to the properties, you can see that Accounting Printer associates to that Brother printer I created. So if you ever forget, if you've set up a number of printers and you forget which one is which, you can always go to the properties and verify which Windows printer that is associated with. So once I've got that set up, what I want to do is close this, and then I want to hop back over here to the iXware workspace, and in my mailboxes I want to go to my account, in this case my accounting mailbox that I've created, but whichever mailbox you're setting up this printer for. We're going to right click on that and we're going to go to mailbox rules. We're going to add a new mailbox rule. We're going to choose use a predefined mailbox rule, and you're going to see an option here for print incoming fax messages to a specific printer. So I'm going to select that and click next, and the rule comes up on the first step here, print incoming fax messages to a specific printer, and we have send a new message to. And if I click on that link, it's already set the transport as printer for me. Now the trick here is that the address must match the name of the printer in the domain manager. And so one of the easy ways to make this work for you is to actually go back to the domain manager, open up the printers module, get the properties on my accounting printer, and I can right click there and actually copy the printer address. Close that up, hop back over to my workspace, paste that printer name in the address, and now in the name you can call this is a display name, so you can call this whatever you want, but I would probably in my case just refer to this as accounting printer. Click OK, click next. I have an option to rename the rule. I might, instead of calling this a specific printer, I might say print incoming fax messages to accounting brother printer. I click finish, and now my rule is complete, and when a fax comes in, it's going to be printed at that accounting printer, which associates to the brother Windows printer I have in my accounting department, and now all inbound faxes for the number associated to the accounting mailbox will be printed at that printer. And that's all there is to it. So adding a Windows printer to iXware give you some additional flexibility when you're choosing routing rules. So not only can you print a message to Xerox MFD, but you can also print to any standard Windows printer in your organization. So thank you very much for watching. Look forward to seeing you again on another video.